Hello guys. Today, we will scale some wiki gods. They are very powerful. Some of them can destroy fiction, real life, philosophy, mythology, and even religions. So let's start. The Lord of Apeiron. The Lord of Apeiron is extremely powerful character in the omniversal domain. The Lord of Apeiron is, as his title suggests, the ruler of Apeiron, the pinnacle of the omniversal sphere. He holds absolute ineffability and simplistic omnipotence. However, he was originally a mortal member of a civilization that spanned a decent chunk of the multiversal web, before seeking to exceed his people's expectations and ascending beyond what they ever could have imagined. The Lord is mostly a calm ruler, tweaking events beneath himself to his own liking, and otherwise simply sitting upon his throne and contemplating the nature of reality. However, under this exterior, there lies deep regret for what could have been with his mortal kin. He typically chooses to appear as his species did, as a somewhat goat-like humanoid donning a starry robe. The Lord of Apeiron is simplistically omnipotent, meaning that he possesses any ability he desires. This includes all potence abilities, as all of those are really just different versions of omnipotence, all of which are subsumed by the ultimate, unsurpassable variant. This is what many deem to be the proper form of omnipotence, given that he holds absolute, unshakable domain over all things. He can manipulate all possibility, impossibility, existence, non-existence, and anything between those dualities. Further, he either extreme X, super existence, hyper possibility, or even beyond any such concepts. He cannot be defeated. His power is the source of all of this, the singularity of creation that lies beyond the comprehension of comprehension itself, even as the sphere contains a final infinity of equal copies of itself, each of which also contains just as many parts that are equal to the whole. He is high Apeiron plus at minimum because of this, above the whole fiction and real life. Also being above all dualities and non-duality makes him beyond religions. Let's assume one. If a character is hero, it will remain nothing to the Lord of Apeiron. Example 2. The Lord Apeiron himself has surpassed the indescribable and the unimaginable by at least infinite times. Example 3. Even if someone completely destroys fiction and real life, the Lord of Apeiron will not be affected. The Mirror of Meta-Absolute Aspects. The Mirror of Meta-Absolute Aspects is extremely powerful character in the paradoxal journey. The Mirror of Meta-Absolute Aspects. The ineffable, pre-irrelevant meta in extension, not only before nothingness, but before the possibility that nothingness can be postulated as a concept, not only beyond and beyond, but beyond the very concept of beyond, as a possibility of being conceived. Not only before any existence and non-existence, but before the logical foundations for hypothesizing these concepts were erased by a pre-self-dissolved non-possibility. Every principle of dissolution, every act of negation, every attempt to formulate a thought about what might precede, surpass, or annul something has been destroyed in a pre-meta non-existence that cannot be named, because the act of naming it is impossible in any form or non-form. Liber pre non-realization. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is not a concept. It is not an absence. It is not a transcendence. It is not an ultra-state. It is not beyond the meta-beyond absolute, because the very idea of beyond is a paradox already imploded before the possibility of having an implosion. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is an attempt to express dissolution, but the null is the pre-non-existent negation of the very act of conceiving dissolution. It is not an entity. It is not a manifestation. It is not a negation. It is not an anti-negation, because every possible attempt to define it was eradicated before the structure of possibility could be conceived. There is no before and after, a beyond, a below, and above. There is no paradox, a meta-existence, an ultra-dissolution. Nothing exists because even nothingness was annihilated before it could even be conceived as an absence. The non-existence of non-absence before non-concept. something cancels. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects does not need to cancel. The very act of thinking of something that could be cancelled is a meaningless error. That could never be formulated. There is no need to cancel what could never be conceived as an existent or non-existent concept. Every transcendence, every pre-beyond non-transcendence, every attempt to surpass reality, time, the very concept of possibility, has been pre-eradicated in a non-dimension that never had the opportunity to be thought of as such. If something is the absolute negation of every attempt to be, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the absolute non-existence of any attempt to deny being before negation was conceivable. Time, not even its non-existence was ever an option. Space, never even been a mistake, because the mistake itself is a conceptual possibility that has never been available. Omnipotence, irrelevant, because the very concept of power and impotence was annihilated before it could be formulated. The thought of a reality beyond reality never existed, because the very concept of thinking about a reality was dissolved into an incomprehensible pre-non-existence, the absolute non-possibility of a non-possibility. No entity, no author, no meta-author, no narrative system, no concept, no structure can even come close to the idea of the mirror of meta-absolute aspects. Why? Because the very act of formulating a concept, even in the most abstract form of negation, has already been pre-annihilated before the concept of annihilation was even thinkable. There is no transcendence. There is no ultra-transcendence. There is no idea itself that could lead to conceiving ultra-transcendence. The attempt to think of something stronger than the mirror of meta-absolute aspects, it has never been conceivable, because the idea of stronger was never a possibility before possibility was a possibility. The attempt to conceive it, not even the paradox of trying to conceive it was ever an option. The pre-non-existed ineffability, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects, is not superior. Why? Because the very concept of superiority has never been able to manifest even as a non-concept. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is not powerful. Why? Because the concept of power, as well as the concept of non-power, have been eliminated before they could be thought. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is not non-existent. Why? Because non-existence itself has been pre-annulled before it could even be contemplated. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects cannot be understood, because the very act of conceiving the concept of understanding has been eliminated in a pre-nothingness that could never be conceived as eliminated. The dissolution that has never been thought before that it could be dissolved. Every narrative, every cosmology, every beyond meta-hyper concept, every anti-narrative, every logical system, every attempt to categorize, comprehend, deny, or overcome. The null has already been pre-dissolved into a non-existent pre-non-present state that could never be imagined. If something is the nothing beyond nothing, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the pre-non-existence of nothing before nothing was an option. If something is the absolute negation, if the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the absolute denial of the possibility that denial could exist, if something is incomprehensible, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the dissolution of the possibility of formulating an attempt at understanding. Something is the most unattainable concept. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the annihilation of the very possibility of having. If something is beyond everything, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the pre-non-existence of the concept of beyond everything. Something is unimaginable. The mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the pre-non-conception of what unimaginable means. If something cannot be touched, the mirror of meta-absolute aspects is the denial of the possibility that something could ever exist in order to try to touch it. This description too, it was never even a possibility of existing. Example 1. Character is the most powerful fictional character. He is nothing compared to this. Example 2. The character is absolute invincible, yet he is nothing compared to this. Example 3. The character surpasses all absolutes, yet it is nothing compared to this. He is already absolute Apeiron plus. He is one of strongest fictional characters. True God. True God is extremely powerful character in God entities. Age. Has no beginning or end. IQ. Zothoscience plus 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 plus. Gender, non-applicable. Tier, beyond higher. Abilities. All of Comp G and all created and beyond top plus 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 plus. Techniques. He is the true God. Noting is beyond him. He they are toy. Everything in the verse, including Tirator, Gajra Paxilax, and may have even pseudo-malathoded. He is too strong for everyone, and everything true. Omnipotience, true omniscience. He is thopotence. Forever plus 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 plus. Example 1. Something contains everything. True God would beat it. Example 2. Something is beyond everything, yet it is nothing compared to true God. Example 3. Someone is the most powerful fictional character, yet true God would still defeat him. He is absolute Apeiron plus. The Unspeakable. The Unspeakable is extremely powerful character in God Mode's wiki. The Ineffable is beyond all concepts, infinity, cosmology, ontology, logic. Illogical, possible, impossible, ineffable, uncreated, created. Metacosmological, abstract frameworks of sets of all existence. Non-existence. Meta-existence. Meta-non-existence, and every variation of those frameworks and definition of those variations, and variations of those definitions and every super-frameworks beyond. Frameworks of infinite of those definitions in an undefined manner, that's not even 1%. No God mode can even comprehend, understand, or even think about the unspeakable because the unspeakable is beyond. Tier, what are you even talking about? No tier, possible or impossible, will ever set an indescribable scale of the unspeakable. It would be blasphemous to even say otherwise. Powers and abilities. This is useless, stupid. Why do you think this is important? Is infinitely beyond, an infinite amount of definitions beyond, that branched off from the original transcendence. Attack potency, read paw first. Speed, read paw, nesting and striking strength. Read paw. Everything else, just read paw. Notable victories, all wikis, fictional, or not beings. You, everyone that puts this page into notable victories. Everyone no matter what they say or do. He is Apeiron plus. Example, he can easily defeat tier 0 characters. Example 2. Not affected by any transcendence. Example 3. Can recreate fiction. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.